Okay, the first thing that I want to say, like, when people are looking into exploring spirituality, I think, well, not what I think, what I know is that you really need to, let me, let me just go about this a different way. So I was talking to a friend and, um, she was letting me know that she was, I had some books about like yoni steaming and stuff like that. And so one of them that I had was by Queen Afua. And I was like, you know, this is a book that I definitely use, but what I realized is like it has a lot of different teachings that could be outside of like your personal belief. So, like, if that's not something that you're wanting to explore, then I had another book that was more, general, but had really good information, but didn't follow a particular practice. And so she was like, oh, like, thank you for letting me know. And then, she was just like, she likes to be really careful about what she exposes herself to. Like, she understands that, spirituality is a really big thing. And, there's spiritual realms and ancestors and things like that. But she personally doesn't like to explore that because, once you know certain things, you can't go back. And so I was like, that is very, very true. Like, once you understand things, you really cannot, like, forget or not understand them anymore. And it really does make an impact on who you are, who you, and how you operate in society. So I kind of sat with that, and on my Instagram, I had made a video about the curious cat. And basically, I today just got like an understanding about, you know, how can I explain um, spirituality. And what I would say is like it's all an individual practice. That's like the best part of spirituality is that it really promotes you creating a connection with an energy that is higher than yourself, right? And that reminds you of how powerful you are in your reality. So, um, um, with that being said, a lot of people come into spirituality wanting to know so much. Like they have so many questions, and they are just open to going into anything that catches their eye first. Just like marketing, which we understand doesn't work well among society. So you shouldn't subject yourself to that even when it comes to spirituality. Um, but what I would encourage you to do is to explore yourself first. I think it's really important to understand what it is that you believe, um, how do you want to live your life, and what is your purpose. And to give you that short answer, your purpose is just to be happy. Your purpose is to love. So I already gave you the key to that, right? But those other things, like how is your personality and how do you show up in relationships, and what do you bring to the world? Like what gifts can you share with as you love on other people, right? So there is a scripture in the Bible that says, "To him that knoweth good but doeth not, to him it is sin." Let me try to look it up. James 4 verses 17. Yeah. So if you're interested in looking at that text a little more, it's James 4 verses 17. But once one thing that a lot of it's really bright. Okay. One thing that a lot of people come into whenever they are going on their spiritual journey, even if you are practicing religion, like all of these are ways that we are connecting with a higher source. So there's no judgment here. But one thing that we realize is that, we start to drift away from other people and it starts to feel very lonely or very isolating. And what I have to say with that is, like that scripture says, to him that knoweth good but doeth not, to him it is sin. So it's like, once you start to understand that the ways that people are choosing to live their life, the way that people are treating other people, or how they treat themselves, how they treat you, once you start to realize that that's harmful to you, it's not right, it's not righteous, really, because I don't really like to go with right or wrong. I really like to go with intention, because it's like all these perceptions can get things really murky. So I would like to use the word righteous. So once you start to see that things are just not righteous, they're not right, and you still participate in it, you start to see the negative effects in your life more than other people, right? So it's like taking off the rose-colored glasses, and there comes a lot of responsibility with that. So that is why you start to feel like you have to, well, it's not even feels, it's logically known that, like, you know, you shouldn't be in that situation. You shouldn't be participating in certain activities, right? So once you start to realize those things, then it starts to become very difficult to continue to accept them in your life. And that is where you start to feel loneliness. That's where you start to feel isolation. And these are the moments where, because you have, remember the steps that I've explained earlier, the first thing when it comes to spirituality that I believe you should do is explore yourself first. Understand who you are, right? Once you do that, you're going to start to realize that some things in your life do not align anymore. Then once you do that, it's 2:20. Then once you do that, because you have already built such a strong foundation and you have started to make the changes that you need in your life, you are then able to communicate with other people. If you study the tarot, this is the same journey. If you look at Jesus Christ's journey, he had to do the same thing. He had to learn thyself and then do the work and then find the disciples and then carry on with the journey. So whatever structure of belief that you follow, you may see these things. Even in the tree of life, you see these things. You see these same patterns of coming into self. So now, a lot of people want to dive into all these different aspects of spirituality, and there is a real truth. Once you start to dibble and dabble in all these different things, you can become very, very confused. You can have certain energies around you, and not everyone is righteous, right? And you have to understand that. It is what it is. We live on this planet Earth. There is good and there is bad. There is right and there is wrong. There are things that align with you. There are things that are not. And based off of what aligns and what doesn't, that categorizes what your right and wrong is, what your moral compass is, okay? 222. So, water. Don't drown me. Dang. Yes. So I kind of went on a tangent. Thank you. So when it comes to the question of what should you be doing, what should you be practicing, I would say look at why you're here. Okay? Look at why you're here. The first thing that you could do is pray to the higher source above to give you the signs, the synchronicities, the message to tell you what you are here to do. Now, based on what already resonates with you, like for me, math. When I was a kid, I really enjoyed math. I really enjoyed numbers. I really enjoyed adding and subtracting and trying to tell time. And time was actually the hardest type of math that I had to learn. Isn't that coincidental? Right? Because this is a timeless message. There's really no time. Time just helps us indicate different memories. But because that already resonated with me, thank you. Because numbers already resonated with me, I was intrigued by numerology. And once I understood what numbers meant, I learned about life path. And like those type of technologies really helped me to understand why I was here. So you may have a different journey. Like I said, I think the number one thing you should do is pray to the higher source above and ask them to guide you. But there were already some indicating things within my life that helped me to just go to that tool, that technology, such as numerology. Okay? However you understand what you are here for, that can really structure what things you should be including in your life. So, for example, I'm a life path number 6. The number 6 talks about family, it talks about balance, and it talks about harmony. I also have memories as a kid where I was really good with my hands. I was really good with imagination. I was really good at healing others. My mom would have me literally massage her, give her head massages and things like that. Like, only me. Like, you know, like when parents just want like their kids to just leave them alone. No, this was an appointment, babes. Okay? And I really, really enjoyed it. So I already understand that energy, numbers, like I already explained, are really important to me. Energy is really important to me. So that's me studying massage therapy, learning how to do Reiki, right? And I'm just breaking down my process and how I was able to figure out where I landed when it comes to spirituality. Okay? There'll be future videos, so I'm not going to keep rambling on about that. Now, when it comes to the difference between spirituality and religion, like I said earlier in the video, spirituality allows you to create your own template of how you're going to connect with the higher source. Religion just already has the guidelines. And religion really helps people who are not necessarily like the the friend that I mentioned earlier, they just don't really want to they don't want to open doors that they cannot close, right? So, but they understand that there is a higher power. So, religion can really be beneficial for those people who want to experience God in their love, but also have certain guidelines and certain parameters that kind of stop certain information from coming. And everyone has their right to, everyone has their right to express and connect with God in the way that they want. But there is a big difference between God and Satan, or God and whatever lower energy. So that is where you have to talk about protection. And number one, connect with your higher source. Connect with the God that you believe in. So, and ask for protection. Now, according to what structure of belief you decide to believe in, there will be assigned extra energies for you. So, like in the Christian faith, Archangel Michael is very influential within that faith. But most importantly, Jesus Christ. And as you study other structures of spirituality, religion, you'll learn your own. Okay. Now, how should you choose? How should you choose what you do? A further explanation. I would say whatever feels right to you, whatever doesn't make you feel uneasy or scared or questionable. If you are experiencing fear, anxiety, being scared, that is your gut feeling letting you know, like, no, you should not be doing that. And you should be able to tell the difference, whether it's a kind of like fear, like a survival, or if it's like an excitement. Like you're excited to do it, but you are, like, I don't know, maybe a lot of us have probably come from a Christian background, right? So, like, maybe a lot of us have also experienced baptism. At the time, I remember my brother was extremely excited to get baptized. But once he put on the clothes and got there, like, he was still a little nervous. And it's just because it's something new. So you should be able to tell the difference between, like, being uneasy and fearful and, being excited and nervous because it's something new. Now, a lot of times in spirituality, talking about the inner child is a really big thing. It can seem kind of taboo or annoying or like, an excuse. But in spirituality, there is a lot of science that is involved, and a lot of people use other sciences such as psychology, therapy, techniques, or they'll literally use chemistry, biology, all the different sciences. Okay. So what was I getting with that? I guess what I'm being prompted to say is just like, once you study, like, because spirituality also dives not only into sciences, but those sciences really help us understand who we are and where we come from and how far we've evolved. And I don't feel as though that's the number one thing that you need to understand, but it's sometimes a question that we have. And that is where I want to just put out a little warning sign, right? It can be very captivating to try and connect with beings that are outside of ourselves because they just seem so freaking amazing. Like, there might be a craze about aliens or sometimes even ancestors or just outside forces, right? And we want to explore that, or we want to find out where civilization really happened, which I mean, it's the science is already out there. The facts are already out there. So a lot of times we feel as though that is very, very important to connect with. And it is a fun journey to go down, but it can be distracting because it takes you away from the now. It takes you away from the present. It takes you away from you needing to express love now. So I do just want to let you all know to just be mindful of that. Be mindful of that. I guess that's the intro to spirituality. All the things that I would have wanted to know. If you guys have any other questions, just let me know. I love you, and I hope that the sound was okay.